companies, right, through the backs of the workers all these years, right, have made a lot of money, right? All of a sudden they pack up and leave the city, right, or the state, and the workers are left with no job. But she nails it. Like, the city and states, they're paying for the roads and the police protection.
We're going to take some time and we're going to go through exactly what naked shorting is, okay, at a kindergarten level so that everybody can understand it, all right? And then if you're not mad at the end of that, then you need to go back and watch this whole thing all over again. All right, what I want to do now is I just kind of want to go through the ground version of explaining exactly what fails to deliver means, okay? Naked short selling, counterfeiting of stock. It's been called a lot of different things, but basically when you buy stock in the stock market, you know, what you have is you have a clearing that goes on, right? So grandma gives her money to the broker and the broker then settles that by giving grandma the stock. That's how it's supposed to work, right? So at least that's the way we all believe that it would work. So now what happens is most countries, they operate, you know, where it's almost simultaneously, okay? Where it almost goes at the same time, but not here in the United States. Here in the United States, it's a T+3. In other words, trade plus 3 days. So there's actually opportunity there because there's 3 days worth of delay, if you will, all right? So hence what happens is it becomes kind of divorced. So she sends the money over, grandma sends the money over, and we got some time to wait, okay? And then he settles it within 3 days, okay? But, you know, the game is a little different here in the United States. A lot of times what happens is those broker dealers, right, they're all on the outside of this kind of spoke system, if you will, of the DTCC. And the way it's supposed to work is it all supposed to trade through the DTCC. Because grandma doesn't really go to the broker with the money and get the stock directly from the broker, right? So what happens is this. Grandma takes her money and she puts her money in the DTCC and it comes out and the stock goes to grandma and the money goes to the broker. See, and the DTCC is there to monitor that and manage that, right? And that process goes on millions and millions of times a day, okay? And the trading happens right within inside the DTCC. This is the way it's supposed to work. But there is something that they call X-clearing. Now, X-clearing is when they allow the broker-dealers to settle, if you will, between themselves on the outside of the DTCC. Now, that's to not slow down the mechanism in the marketplace, and it really wasn't devised as a nefarious way for them to do any wrongdoing. But, you know, people do find opportunities when you're able to slide through the rules, so to speak. So basically, all of this going on at the same time through the marketplace, right? Everybody's trade, the stocks are going into the DTCC and out, and they're X-clearing on the outside. All right, so let's get back to grandma and the broker now, okay? Let's take a look at how this could work in kind of a nefarious fashion, if you will. So the money goes over, right? And the broker goes to give her the stock, but something blocks him. Something keeps him from being able to send that stock over there, right? So now what happens, right? He sends an IOU to grandma. Now she doesn't know the difference because in her account she still sees the ticker that says she owns that share of stock, but really what's happened here is they've created an additional share of stock there that didn't really exist, an IOU, okay? So now grandma does, you know, they do that multiple times, okay? And boom, all of a sudden, consider this if you will. You have a company that has 100 million shares of stock, okay? And they're worth $100 million. So by supply and demand, they should be worth, where that connects, $1 a share. Simple math, right? Well, if they're able to create lots of shares that don't exist and inflate the amount of shares that are in the marketplace, and the market doesn't know the difference. So if they sell another 100 million shares of stock in the marketplace that doesn't exist, now it's worth 50 cents a share. Another couple 100 million shares of stock, it's a penny stock. And now a ceiling kind of forms over it. And it becomes a penny stock and nobody wants to buy and sell it and it just stays stagnant. And eventually the company goes out of business and guess what? Then they never have to deliver on those shares because the company doesn't exist anymore. Okay? So there's the big problem. When they inflate the amount of shares that happen in the marketplace, okay, they decrease the value of the stock. Now, the next thing that you're going to see is a video that's coming up. It's a 3-part series called The Economic Meltdown. It's kind of how Bear Stearns was eaten by their own, okay? Now, what's really unique about that is somebody made what was considered to be like buying 1.7 million lotto tickets. They bought 1.7 million puts on Bear Stearns that within a 1-week period of time that they would lose in excess. As a matter of
Okay, so we made a movie called Stock Shock that I was the narrator, and as Cameron discussed, it brought out about the uptick rule. They eliminated the rule July 6, 2007, and of course, we all know what happened the next couple of years after that as everybody got taken from their money and lost a lot of money, 10 to 50%. So the uptick rule got eliminated. It created a frenzy of naked short selling to all these hedge funds and brokerage houses like Goldman Sachs to steal the money and sell counterfeit stock, which is the key point we want to bring out. Counterfeit stocks these people were selling. And if we bring to light this, it needs to be one of the demands besides to get the money out of politics.
And back in those days when we talked about naked shorting, we were told that it didn't even exist. That is, as a matter of fact, Jim Chanos even says it's a non-issue. A non-issue. We've come to find out that there's $6 billion a day that goes failed to deliver in the marketplace. And it's estimated that there could be as much as $90 trillion worth of unsettled securities. Well, let's talk about what I feel is the perfect crime, right? I mean, if we go back to the 80s where they had the savings and loan debacle, they had all kinds of people that were taken to court and all kinds of people that went to jail for that. But now we don't have anybody going to jail for naked short selling, counterfeiting stock, failing to deliver items, right? To me, it's kind of like the perfect crime. Working on Wall Street, I gotta tell you, man, I think it was like stealing candy from a baby, because you could go out and you can sell all these things that you don't have to deliver on, and nobody's gonna put you in jail for it, if you ask me. Here's Bear Stearns, right? And nobody thought that they had, everybody was in trouble. Everybody had things on their books that they shouldn't have had, but it was a bet that would never have paid off in a reasonable manner to lose 50% of their value plus within a 7-day period of time. Somebody had to know something. Somebody had to know something was going on. They did. In fact, when you watch the video coming up, you're going to see that they inflated the amount of shares of that company by the tens of millions within the days. And somebody made that bet. Now, the SEC knows who made that bet. We want to know who it is, but they've never released that name. And sure enough, a $62 stock on a Friday got garage sold to JP Morgan for $2 a share on a Sunday? I didn't think.
But the real truth is what we're trying to tell you. One of the, probably the second biggest thing about this Occupy Wall Street movement is the stock counterfeiting on the stock market that destroyed the financial system and caused the 2008 financial meltdown. It all plays into this counterfeiting on stocks called naked short selling.
Alright, so we're going to make this easy. You're a lot closer to the information than you may think. Just go to your computer. Go to www.thewholeworldwatching.com. Now, we created an online TV broadcast that brings you all the real information on what's really going on behind the scenes in Wall Street.